you have any kind of idea what is functions in JavaScript? What are functions in JavaScript? Not operators. Krishna, you will find HTML, CSS nodes also on the same GitHub repository. Nice. Methods, group of statements which do some functionality, block of statements, method. Yeah. I think a lot of people have given right answer in some way or other way. Okay. So let me explain you technically what are functions. Okay. Functions are set of statements. You can say set of statements or code or instruction wrapped in the block. So what are functions? Functions are set of statements, or you can call as a code, set of code or set of instructions wrapped in the block. Okay, wrapped in the block that performs some action or task. Okay, what are functions? Functions are set of statements or code or instructions wrapped in the block that performs some action or task. Okay, so now we have to understand two things. The first thing is how to create function, how to create a function, and how to call a function. How to call a function. We have to understand two things: how to create a function. In that function, how can we add some set of statements or code or block, and how to call a function. These are the two things what we have to understand when it comes to JavaScript. Okay, so if you are creating the function, that is called function definition. The process of creating the function is called function definition or function declaration. Function declaration. You can use any term. So what is function definition or a function declaration? It is the process of creating the function. And we have something called function call. What is function call? Function call is the process of calling the function. Function call is the process of calling the function. Function definition or declaration is the process of creating the function. Okay. So in your JavaScript, if you want to create any function, then you have to use one special keyword. You have to use one special keyword called function. After adding the special keyword called function, you have to add your function name. Some function name you have to give. Then open parenthesis, close parenthesis, space, or even if you don't give space, it's okay. Then open curly brace, close curly brace. So this is how we create the function in JavaScript. Now this entire thing we are going to call as a function definition or function declaration. This entire thing we are going to call as a function definition or function declaration. This entire thing we can call as a function definition or function declaration. You can use any term. Both are used. So some people will call definition, some people will call declaration. This entire thing we are going to call function definition or declaration. In that, this is a keyword. Keyword means it is a word which has some reserved meaning. So this is a keyword. Keyword means means some reserved meaning, to the word in the programming language. Keyword means some reserved meaning to the word in the programming language. Okay, so it is a keyword. This is a function name. Here it is a function name. Function name. Okay, here you can give any function name. And from this curly brace to this curly brace, this place, from curly brace to curly brace, in between this curly brace, whatever place you have, whatever space you have, that space we are going to call as a block. So this entire thing we are going to call as a function block, or you can call as a function scope. You can call function block or function scope. Function block, or we can call as a function scope. What do you mean by function scope? The area in between these two curly braces. The area between these two curly braces is called function scope, or we can call this as a function block. Function block means it starts from this curly braces and ends to this curly braces. So this entire thing we are going to call as a function definition. This is a keyword, okay, function keyword, and this is the function name. These are the parentheses, okay. Then from this curly brace to this curly brace, we can call as a function block or function scope. Okay. Now inside this curly braces, here we can write this set of statements. Here we can write set of statements. Set of statements we can add here. Whatever set of statements, whatever code you will add, that code you have to add inside this curly braces only. Okay, so what is function? Function is a set of statements wrapped inside the block, that performs, this set of statement performs some kind of action, or they perform some kind of task. That action or task can be anything. It can be like fetching the data from server. It can be doing some kind of calculation, right? It can be updating some DOM. It can be changing the content of your HTML elements. It can be anything, but it will perform some kind of action or task. Yeah. Is it clear up to here? What is function and how to create function? Yeah, you can call function body also. So this part you can call function body also. Function body also we can call. Okay, but technically instead of using the word function body, in our real time we will use the term function scope. Maximum we will use the term scope, and few people will use the term block. Okay, very less people will use the term body. So body word was used a lot of time in the C language. In C language also we have function concept, right? There we used to use this term body. But when it comes to JavaScript, technically we will use the term scope and block. Okay, even if you use body, there is nothing wrong, but it is always recommended to use the term scope and block. Yeah, anyone have any doubts up to here? Okay. So can we create one function practically? So let's create one function practically now. So to create a function, first of all, we have to create one JavaScript file. So I'm just creating here one JavaScript file with the name functions only, functions.js. Now how to create function? Simply write one function keyword. Okay, it is a special keyword. We have to use function only. We cannot use any other name. We have to use function only. It is a keyword. Space, give some name. Your function name should start with a small letter, okay, or it can start with capital letter. So it should start with some alphabet only. You should not start your function name with any kind of numbers. Like we cannot start like this. So always start your function name with some alphabets. You can start with lower case or you can start with uppercase. Okay. So when it comes to JavaScript, here it is recommended to start your function name with lowercase, something like this, function. Okay. I'm saying like my function. Now this is your function name. Then open parenthesis, close parenthesis, space, open curly brace, close curly brace. Now this is called, this entire thing we are going to call as a function definition or function declaration. Now inside this function, what we can do, we can write our JavaScript code. As of now, what we know just how to create variable, how to declare variable, how to assign the value to variable, how to initialize the variable. This is what we know till now. So let's initialize few variables inside the function. So here I'm initializing var x equals to 10, var y equals to 20. So what I did, I just created two variables. I have initialized two variables with x and y. Now with these two variables, I want to do addition operation. How to do addition operation means simply we can add our variables. Instead of adding like 10 plus 20, like this, instead of using numbers, what we can do, we can take the help of this variable names. We can do x plus y. If you are doing x plus y means internally you are doing 10 plus 20 only. Internally you are doing 10 plus 20 only. So x plus y. Now x plus y means internally you are doing 10 plus 20. Now it will calculate and it will generate some result, right? 10 plus 20, 30. Some result will be generated. Now whatever result will be generated, that result we will assign to one more variable, var result. So what we did, we created one more variable called result. In that variable, we are storing the calculated value of x plus y. Whatever value you have calculated for x plus y, that we are storing inside the result. Now, if you want to print that, simply write console.log of result. So whatever value you have added inside this result, that value will be printed in your console area. Save it. Okay. Now, if you want to run this JavaScript file, if you want to execute this JavaScript file, open your terminal. Okay, how to open the terminal? You can click on this terminal option. Then you will get something called new terminal option. Click on that new terminal. Or else in shortcut, you can type Control plus Shift plus backtick. Control plus Shift plus backtick. One terminal will open. Now this is your terminal. Okay, now here we have to use a command called node. We have to use a command called here node space your file name. File name is functions. So just write functions and click on enter. Now, if I click on enter, nothing will happen. You will not see anything here. Your function will not get executed. See here, your function is not getting executed. There is no output in the terminal. Why there is no output in the terminal? Because you just defined the function. If you want to execute this function, then you have to call the function. Until unless we won't call the function, function will not execute. So how to call the function? So once you define the function, then how to call the function? So to call the function, the syntax is very simple. Just we have to use function name. Whatever function name you have given, just use that function name. And in front of that, use this parenthesis. That's it. Now this is called function call. This part is called function call. Function call. Okay, until unless we don't call the function, function will not execute. So if you want to execute any JavaScript function, after defining or after declaring the function, we have to call the function. And function should be called out of this curly braces. Don't call inside the curly braces. Outside the curly braces, you have to call. So my function name is, in this case, my function name is my function. So simply I will write here my function. And in front of that, curly braces. That's it. Save it. Now you can execute your function. Now see, you got here 30. Here you got 30. Suppose if I add different values, if I say here 100 and here 200, save it. If I call the function one more time, see, it is re-executed. Now we got 300. 100 plus 200, 300, 300 we are storing in the result and we are printing it. Understood how to create the function and how to call the function? Are these 2 points clear? Did you guys understood what is function block, what is function scope? Okay, guys, remember all these terms, because in future sessions, whenever we want to learn some advanced concept, I will be using these terms. And if you forget these terms, then understanding that advanced concepts will be very, very difficult. So I recommend everybody always revise the notes. Once you have done with your class, once you go for next concept, try to revise your previous concept and always keep revising the things. Suppose if you don't revise the things, you will forget. And that is common problem for everyone. Suppose if I am not using JavaScript for 1 year, then I will forget entire JavaScript. I will forget all the concepts. I will forget all the syntax. That is natural for each and everyone. Okay, now already I have the job. Even if I forget, I can go back to the internet, I can check it. But you guys are like students, you are applying for jobs. In your interviews, if you forget, that will backfire you. Okay, so once you get job and if you forget there is no problem. You can go to the documentation, you can go to the internet, you can check it, you can revise it. But while giving the interviews, you should not forget. Okay, so once you crack your job, then you are like free. So how to remember all those concepts, how to remember HTML concept, CSS concept, JavaScript concept, Java concept, that you can only remember just by practicing, just by revising the things. So whenever you get the time, whatever you have learned in HTML, revise it. Whatever you have learned in CSS, revise it. Try to use it, try to practice it. Do one example of your previous concepts. So you will be able to remember the things. Okay. Yeah. As of now, don't worry about this console.log. What is console.log? It is something which will help us to print some output in this terminal. Okay. In today's session, I will explain you what is log. You will only tell me what is log. Okay. Now, did you understood what is function definition? What is function call? Understood how to call the function? Now, suppose, can I define one more function? In my JavaScript file, can I create one more function? Function something like print, like this. And inside this function, can I write some code? Like I'm just declaring one variable. Okay, I just declared one line. I just wrote one line, that is created a variable, assigned some value. And here simply I'm writing console.log. And inside that I'm pasting this CT. I'm just adding that variable. Now, how many functions I have created in my file? How many functions I have created in my file? I have created 2 functions. Okay. Now, if I run my file, if I execute this file, how many functions will get executed? If I execute this file, how many functions will get executed? Great, great. Only one. Only one function will get executed. Why only one function will get executed? Because we defined 2 functions, but we are calling only one function. We are calling only one function. This function we just defined, but we are not calling. That is the reason this function will not get executed. So if you want to execute this function, you just call it. Wherever you want, you can call it. You can call before this or you can call after this. That's your wish. So here I can call like this. Now I can execute it. How to execute? Node space your file name. File name is functions. So functions. Now see, here we got 300, here we got Hyderabad. Okay, how many functions you can create in your JavaScript file? You can create any number of functions. How many functions we can create in JavaScript file means we can create any number of functions. Okay, that depends upon your requirement. You can create 20 functions, 100 functions, 1000 functions, whatever functions you want to create. How many functions you want to create, you can create that many functions. Okay, now did you understood what is function call? Is it clear for everyone? Function call. Now these two lines are called function call. Okay, these two lines are called function call. So let me just take screenshot. I will paste here and I will say this both lines are called function call. Okay, now we have used something like console.log, right? We have used something like console.log. Now, can you guys tell me what is this log? By seeing this log, are you able to relate any concept that you have learned till now? If I ask you what is log, what will be your answer? If I ask you what is log, what should be your answer now? Yes. So what is log? Log is a function. It is a function. Okay, created by JavaScript. Who created this function? JavaScript created this function. Okay, who created this function? Print function. Who created print function? Like we created print function. Developer created print function. So any function which we create, those functions are called user-defined functions. Functions which we create, functions in which we write the logic, those functions are called user-defined function. Functions which are created by your JavaScript or by someone else, the functions which are created by someone else, those functions are called predefined function. So it is a predefined function. Predefined function means the function which is created by someone else. We are just using that function. We have not created that function. We are using that function. We are calling that function. So any function which is created by someone else, those are called predefined functions. Functions which we create, those are called user-defined functions. Is it clear for everyone? What are user-defined functions? What are predefined functions? Okay, let's suppose I have created one function. Let's suppose I created one function fn, and let's suppose you guys are using this function. Okay, you are using the function. Let's assume that this function is created by me and this function is used by you guys. So for you, this is the predefined function. For me, it is a user-defined function because I created. And for you, it is a predefined. Why? Because you are using it. You did not create. Let's suppose you created one function. If you created this function, then for you, it is a user-defined function. Let's suppose this function is used by me. I am using this function. So for me, it is a predefined function. For you, it is a user-defined. For me, it is a predefined. Okay. So any function which is created by someone else, those are called predefined. Any functions which are created by ourselves, which we created, those are called user-defined. Okay. So if you remember yesterday or day before yesterday, I told you console.log, I cannot explain at that point of time because I did not explain function concept to you. And if I directly use the term, this is a function, everything will go out of your head. That is the reason there will be some concepts which we will learn in the future sessions. Example, let const. While understanding about the variable concept, I told we can use 3 scope statements where let const. And I have told you, forget about let and const as of now. We will discuss about this in the future session. Okay. So same thing I told about console.log also. So in today's session, we understood about log. About let and const, we will understand in coming sessions. Once we start about scope statement, then we will understand about let and const concept. Okay. So till now, I hope everybody understood all these terms. I will just mention here. I hope everybody understood function definition and declaration. What do you mean by function definition or declaration? I hope everybody understood what is function name. Everybody knows what is function scope or block. What is function call? Okay. What are set of statements? Okay. Here user defined function, predefined function. All these terms are clear for everyone. If you are clear with all these terms, it means whatever I have explained till now, everything is clear for you guys. Let me know if you have any confusion in any term. Anyone have any confusion? Set of statements means set of code. Now see, inside this function, we are writing, this is one statement, this is one statement. So more than one statement we call as a set of statements. Okay. So this entire thing is called one statement. One statement equals to one instruction. So whenever you add semicolon, that indicates the end of statement. How to recognize end of statement? Just by whenever you see semicolon, it indicates that it is the end of statement. So this is one statement, this is another statement. So if you have more than one statement, then we call it as a set of statements. Here also, how many statements we have? Here we have 4 statements. Statement 1, statement 2, statement 3, statement 4. So all these are called together set of statements. You can call all this as a set of statements, or you can call set of instructions, or you can call set of code. So whatever term suits for you, or with whatever term you are comfortable, you can use that term. All the 3 terms are valid. Yeah, Rashika, similar to class. Now, can you guys think, can we have 2 functions with the same name? You just think, you logically think, can I have 2 functions with the same name? Suppose here also, if I give the function name as my function, and if I call this function, which function will be called? If I call my function, which function will be called? Yes. So do you think there will be a confusion? Okay, can we try? Can we try? Okay, so whenever you get something like this comes in your mind, like this is like a good doubt a person got. Like he thought, okay, if I have 2 functions with the same name, what happens? If you get something like this doubt, so what I would recommend everybody, try it, execute it, and just try to find out what will be the answer. What is the answer you got? Did you got any error? Did you got any error? We did not get any error, but we got the answer. See, what is the answer it is printing? It is printing Hyderabad. It means it is calling the second function. So can we change the order? Can I add this function here? And if I execute now I got 300. It means the latest function will be called. If you define 2 functions with the same name, you will not get any kind of error in the JavaScript. But the function which is latest, that will be called. Is it clear for everyone? Okay. So this is how you guys have to do the experiments. This is what we call as a practice. And this is what in interviews people will ask. Okay, now if you don't practice, then it's like you will not be able to answer. By default, what we will think, we might get some error. But here, if you say we are going to get error, then you are like wrong. You have to say we won't get any error. Function will get executed, but the latest function which we have defined, it will get first executed. Okay. Now I'm just making it as a print only. Now, can I define one more function like this? I'm defining one more function, but this time I will keep yum as a capital. And here I will do minus. I will do y minus x. Okay, what I have done, I have two functions. Here also I have my function. Here also I have my function. The difference is this function name is starting with lowercase. This function name is starting with uppercase. Okay, here I have addition logic. I am doing addition. Here I am doing subtraction. Here I am doing subtraction. So now if I call my function, let's see which function will be called. Whether it will call this function or it will call this function. Let's try. Execute it. Now we got 300. 300 means which function it called? First function. Okay, now if I call the function with capital letter, if I call my function where yum is capital, in that case, let's see. I got 100. It means my function, it is considered as two different functions. Now here, my function and my function. Both the functions are considered as two different functions. Okay, so in your JavaScript, okay, case matters. Whether it is a lowercase or uppercase, both will matter. Okay, so that is the reason we call JavaScript as a case sensitive language. Case sensitive language means here case matters. Capital letter and small letter are considered as a two different functions or two different variables. Suppose if I declare here a variable like var a, and if I declare a variable var a, now here it will consider these two variables as a two different variables. It will consider two different variables because this is in the lowercase and this is in the uppercase. So your JavaScript is a case sensitive language. Okay. Yes, we have operator concepts in JavaScript as well. So our next topic will be operator concept. Yeah. Fine. Now tell me, let me just write one, let me create one more function, add.js. Okay, let me copy this addition function and let me paste here. Okay, I just created one separate file and in that file I have just pasted that function. Now, can I call this function multiple times like this? Can I call this function multiple times? Yes. So we can call multiple times. We can call any number of times your functions. Now see, if I just say node add, it will execute 2 times. Now this function will execute how many times means? This function will execute 2 times because we are calling 2 times. So here 2 times we should get 300, 300. Now see here we got 2 times 300, 300. Suppose this function if I call 4 times, then how many times this function will get executed? 4 times this function will get executed. Now see 4 times we got 300, 300, 300, 300. It means we can define any number of functions in JavaScript file. We can call same functions any number of times. In our JavaScript file, we can define any number of functions. In our JavaScript file, we can call same function any number of times. We can call same function any number of times. Is it clear for everyone? Now tell me, if I am calling my function 4 times, then if you are calling your function 4 times, are you getting same result? 4 times, are you getting same result? Now I want to make this function little bit dynamic. I want to make this function little bit dynamic. Dynamic means whenever first time if I call this function, that time it should do 20 plus 30. It should add 20 plus 30. Second time, whenever I call this function, that time this function should do 100 plus 200. Whenever I call third time, my function should add 50 plus 50. It means I want to add different numbers whenever I call that function. Whenever I call my function, I want to add different numbers. So if you want to add different numbers, whenever you call this function, then you have to tell to this function using which numbers you have to add that, you have to do that addition operation. So you have to tell to this function using which number addition operation should be performed. Now, how can you tell to the function using which number addition operation should be performed? That instructions we can give using function parameters. Something called function parameters. So what are function parameters? Function parameters are variables without scope statement. Function parameters are variables without scope statement, which is used to store the data, and we can utilize the data of parameters inside the function scope. What are function parameters? Function parameters are variables. They are just like a variables without scope statement. Remember this one. They are like variables, but without scope statements. And which is used. What is the use of this function parameter? The use of this function parameter is to store the data. Okay, basically using variables, we store some data, right? So function parameters also used to store the data. Now, what is the purpose of storing the data? Whatever data you will store in the parameter, that data you can utilize inside your function scope. Whatever data you will store inside your parameter, that type of data or that data you can utilize in your function scope to perform some action. Okay. Parameters are always passed. Parameters are always passed in the parenthesis. Parameters are always passed, or I can say always defined while function is created. Parameters are always defined while function is created. Parameters are defined inside the parenthesis. Inside the parenthesis, we have to define the parameters. So let's see how we can define the parameters. So while defining the function, let's suppose I am defining one function here, function add. Now this is called my function definition. So while creating the function, you have to pass the parameters. Where you have to pass? Inside this parenthesis. And parameters are like variables. Just pass like variables. X. I have just passed one variable called X. How many parameters we can pass? Any number of parameters you can pass. Like you can pass Y, you can pass Z, you can pass name, you can pass city. Each and every parameter should be differentiated or divided by comma. You have to add here comma operator to divide from one parameter to another parameter. So parameters are like variables. Now all these are like variables without that scope statement. Scope statement means var let const. We are not using here var let const. We just use variable names. How many variables you can define? Any number of variables you can define. And each variable you have to separate with comma operator. Comma operator. And these parameters you have to pass inside this parenthesis while defining the function. While defining the function. Now, what is the use of these parameters? These parameters are used to hold the data. Now, how to store the data in parameters? To store the data in parameters, we have to pass the data. So when to pass the data? Data are passed while calling the function. So whenever we call the function. Now, while calling the function, we pass the data. So here we can pass the data. How much data we have to pass? How many parameters we define? That many data you pass. So I have totally 5 parameters. So I am passing 5 different values. Okay. Now 10 will store. This 10 will store inside X. 20 will store inside Y. 30 will store inside Z. 40 will store inside name. 50 will store inside city. Now this entire data you can utilize inside your function scope. Here you can utilize to do some kind of operation. All this data, whatever data you are passing, all this data you can utilize inside this function scope. Okay. Now here, all these are called function parameters. All these are called function parameters. Okay. And while calling the function, if you pass some data like this, if you pass some data, now all this data we are going to call as a function arguments. Function arguments. Remember this term. While creating the function, if you are passing something like a variable, those are called function parameters. While calling the function, if you are passing actual data, those are called function arguments. Those are called function arguments. Okay. Now see, here if I want to perform different operation, what I will do? Simply I will take 2 parameters, X comma Y. Okay, let me remove this. I have taken 2 parameters, X comma Y. Now while calling this function, I will say 20 comma 30. Here I will say 100 comma 200. Here I will say 50 comma 50. Here something like 1 comma 2. Now whenever we call this function, at that point of time, 20 will store in X, 30 will store in Y. Now here we are doing X plus Y. Now what is the value of X? X value is 20, Y value is 30. So 20 plus 30, answer is like 50. 50 will be stored here and we are printing that 50. After that, one more time we are calling the function. It means same function is called. Now this time we are passing 100, 200. So 100 will store in X, 200 will store in Y. Now again we are doing X plus Y. Now whenever we are doing X plus Y, at that point of time, X value is 100, Y value is 200. So 100 plus 200, it's like 300. Now it will do 300. Same thing it will do for these 2 functions. Now see, you will get 4 different values. Now here we got 4 different values. So how to pass some input to our function? we can pass some input to our function using function parameter and function argument. How to pass input to our functions means by using the concept function parameter and function argument. Okay, is it clear, guys? Understood what are function parameters and function arguments? Now in your interviews, they will ask, what is the difference between function parameters and function arguments? What is the difference between function parameter and function argument? What will be your answer? What will be your answer if someone asks you this question? Both are not same. Okay, don't give the answer. Both are same. Okay, both are not same. Okay, so remember points. Function parameter. Function parameter are always variables. Is it clear? One point. Function parameters are always variables. Function arguments are always data. They are actual data. Function parameters are variables. Function arguments are data. Is it clear? The first difference. Is it clear for everyone? Second difference. Function parameter passed inside the parenthesis while defining the function. Function parameters are passed inside the parenthesis while defining the function. Function arguments are passed in the parenthesis while calling the function. Is it clear, guys? Understood second difference? Yes. So these are the two differences you can mention whenever someone asks you what is the difference between function parameters and arguments. Lot of people will interchange. They will interchange the words. Okay, don't ever interchange the words. I hope everybody is clear what is function parameter, what are function arguments. Yeah. Okay. Now, how many parameters we can pass? How many function parameters we can pass? Any number of parameters we can pass. How many arguments we can pass? Any number of arguments we can pass. Okay, any number of arguments we can pass. Okay, let's suppose I have a function. Okay, let's suppose I have defined something like fn, and here I am taking two parameters, something like name comma seed. Okay, and let's suppose I just want to print those parameter values. Name, okay, comma seed. So inside the console.log, we can print two variables also. Inside the console.log, we can print two variables also, or two parameters also. How to print? Just by dividing with the comma operator. Just by dividing with the comma operator. You like this, you can pass any number of variables, you can print it. So in one console.log, I am passing two parameters. Now, if I call this function, I have to pass some data here. So what type of data we can pass? What type of data we can pass? Can we pass only number type of data like this? Or we can pass string type of data also. Can we pass string type of data? Answer is yes. You can pass any type of data. You can pass number, you can pass string, or you can pass combination of string and numbers like this. Now Kabir will store in name, 100 will store in the city. Now if I save it and if I try to execute it, node task. Now see, I got Kabir 100. It is just printed Kabir 100. Okay, in the same line, we are printing both the variables. Can I pass extra arguments? How many parameters I have? I have 2 parameters. How many arguments I am passing? I am passing 4 arguments. Now, can you guys tell me, in this case, if I do console.log, what it will print? If I do console.log, what it will print? It will give any error or it will print something? It will not give any kind of error, guys. Okay. So in this case, what happens? First argument will always store in first parameter. Second argument will always store in the second parameter. Now for third argument, we don't have any parameter. So in that case, third and fourth argument are just ignored. They are just ignored. Okay. Now see, if I just try to print it, I just got Kabir 100. Okay. If you are passing more parameter arguments than your parameters, in that case, your arguments will be just ignored. Suppose if I pass only one parameter, sorry, if I pass only one argument, and if I have 2 parameters, in this case, can you guys tell me, Kabir will store in name or Kabir will store in city? This argument will store in name or in city? Yes, always first argument will always store in the first parameter only. Now see, here if I just type, here we will get one special value. See, here we got one special value. What is this undefined now? What is this undefined? Okay, let's try to understand about undefined now. Undefined is a special value in JavaScript. Okay, so whenever we create a variable or parameter, and if we don't assign any value to it, or if you don't assign any data to it, then JavaScript will assign one special value to the variable and parameter, and that special value is undefined. That special value is undefined. Okay, what is undefined? Undefined is a special value. It is a special value in JavaScript. Okay, whenever we create a variable or parameter, suppose you created one variable and parameter, and to that variable and parameter, if you don't assign any data, if you are not assigning any data, then by default, your JavaScript will assign one special value to those parameters and variable, and that special value is undefined. That special value is undefined. That is the reason, see, here we created parameter, but we are not storing any data. That is the reason one special value has been stored in this variable, and that special value we call as a undefined. That special value is undefined. Okay, so in your interviews, they will ask, what is undefined? Then your answer should be, it is a special value in the JavaScript. Then they will ask, okay, if it is a value, then what is the data type of that value? It belongs to which type? Then undefined value data type is undefined only. It is undefined only. Okay, so when this value should be assigned, whenever we create a variable, and if we don't want to store any data in that variable or parameter, in that case we can go for undefined. We can store undefined. If you are not storing undefined, JavaScript will store undefined. It will not leave your variable empty. It will store some data. If you are storing some data, your data will be stored. If you are not storing any data, undefined will be stored. Okay. Bharat, wait, don't use the terms overloading, overriding. I won't explain now. So just focus on the terms what I am explaining now. If I use the terms like overloading, overriding, the people who are freshers, they will get completely confused. Now they will start thinking about what is overloading, what is overriding. So just focus on what I'm teaching. Whether you are understanding the concept, what I taught or not, you just try to focus on that point only at this point of time. Okay. Anyways, we are going to learn about object-oriented programming in JavaScript. At that time, I will explain about overloading, overriding. Okay. Is it clear for everyone? What is undefined? And why undefined got printed here? Now, next question. Is it mandatory to pass parameters and arguments inside the function? Is it mandatory to pass or define arguments and parameters inside the function? So what will be your answer for this? Is it mandatory to pass or define arguments and parameters inside the function? It means whenever you create a function, is it mandatory that we have to define parameters, we have to pass arguments? Yes, answer is no. Okay, answer is no. If you feel that parameters and arguments are required, then only define it, or else don't define it, or else don't define it. Okay, so any function which is taking parameters and argument, any function which is taking parameter and argument, those functions are called parameterized functions. Any function which is taking parameters or arguments, those functions are called parameterized functions. Any function which is not taking any parameters, those are called normal functions. Those are called normal functions. Normal functions means functions without parameter. Parameterized functions means functions with parameters. That's it. Is it clear? Parameterized functions and normal functions. Okay. So we don't have any term like non-parameterized functions. We have just normal functions. So maybe in another language you might have terms, but in JavaScript we don't have any terms like non-parameterized functions. We have just two terms: parameterized function, normal function. Yeah. Okay. Is it clear up to here, everybody? Understood about the functions, whatever I have taught till here? So in tomorrow's session, I will explore about return. What is return function? What are callback function? What is higher order function? Okay, what is anonymous function? What is function expression? And we have something like arrow function. We have arrow functions. These are the different types of functions that we will discuss in tomorrow's session. Okay, so in tomorrow's session, I will take JavaScript only. And on Saturday and Sunday, Sunday, we will have the session. Okay, I will let you know in tomorrow's session what will be the timing on Sunday. Okay, so we will have the session on Saturday and Sunday. And on Saturday and Sunday, I will take the CSS. So whatever topics are pending in CSS, right, that topics I will cover on Saturday and Sunday. Okay, whatever topics we left, Those topics we will cover on Saturday and Sunday. So I will cover CSS. Okay. And from Monday, I will cover our JavaScript. I will continue with JavaScript. So tomorrow, we will have the class on JavaScript only. And next class of JavaScript will be Monday. Okay. I mean, next to next class will be on Monday. But on Saturday, Sunday, I will take CSS. So whatever topics are pending, we will cover those topics. Sunday timing, I will let you know. Saturday will be, we will have the same time. On Saturday, the timing is same at 5:30. Maybe on Sunday, I will take in the morning. So I will let you know when the session will be on the Sunday. Okay. So on Saturday or tomorrow, I will let you know what will be the timing on Sunday. But on Saturday, the timing will be at regular. It will be at 5:30 only. Sunil, just wait. I will teach debugging, but not now. Yeah, that's all, guys. So let's meet tomorrow and let's continue the function topic. Let's wrap function topic by tomorrow so that on Monday we can focus on first like most important topic in JavaScript, that is objects and arrays. Okay, I just want to wind up at least the basics of JavaScript by the next Saturday. By the next Saturday, I want to wind up basics of JavaScript so that if any React batch or Angular batch starts, then you guys should be able to at least join those batches. Okay, so by next Saturday, I will try to wind up all the basics of JavaScript. Then next week, we will start with the advanced JavaScript. Okay, if you want any information about the recorded sessions, can you guys connect with the admin? They will help you out. Okay, if you want any information